What's up, guys, and welcome back to Tech Plant. It is the halfway mark of the great Pothos Race, and I've stepped things up a few notches, and I've got it in the hyperbolic time chamber. Let's check it out. Alright, this footage is from mid-February, and you can see a very amazing thing has finally happened. We have reached the top of the pole, but thankfully I've made a modular system so we can extend it and keep on going. Now, because this is experimental, I don't actually have any dowels, which is what I plan to use, but I did have some chopsticks. Everyone has that drawer that's full of chopsticks from the Chinese takeout, or in our case, Korean takeout. But anyways, they're working just fine. They fit in the holes, a little snug, but that's kind of what I want. So I just sized them up and used them to attach it. With the two chopsticks sticking all the way out, it actually looks like some sort of weapon, but indeed this is not. I mean, it could double as a home defense weapon, but this is our modular design. It took a little bit of adjusting, but finally I got it to fit in there quite snug. You can see there's a slight misalignment here, but again, this is the beta. With the final product, I have like a bunch of jigs I'm creating so I can make these extremely consistent, and then they'll be really awesome. But anyways, I got it all hooked up. But I did not like the interface here. I thought it wasn't strong enough. I want to make sure it was strong. So we got the staple gun. Alright, this may look a little ridiculous here because we've got this really short cord, but sadly I did not have an extension cord on hand. And I'm pretty sure I filmed this a few days or like maybe a week before the birth of my child, so this is just the best I can do. Also, I did not have this thing set up properly. You can adjust some settings so that way the nails, or I should say the staples, don't come out at Mach 10 like a machine gun here. I'm sure the ATF is watching this and they're probably going to raid my house now. But yeah, this thing was sending out staples like crazy, and you shouldn't do it this way. This is very sloppy, but again, time was against me. So after a few too many staples, it started to look like Frankenstein, but I was satisfied with how well it was going to hold and had no fear that this thing was going to fall over. So it's been properly extended. Now, before we get this thing all wrapped up and put back in the grow room, I do want to show you that the roots are doing what they're supposed to do. The cracks are working fantastic, or slits or cuts, whatever you want to call them. I'm just ecstatic to see that this thing continues to do what it's supposed to do. And like Jeff pointed out in the other video, it is helping guide the plant. It's keeping it nice and straight, which is fantastic. Again, this is a mid-video reminder, but I am in a competition with the Great Pothos Race with the Everything Plants. Jeff, on his channel, he has another video that he's going to post at the same time as this, so after you see this, definitely go watch his. So yeah, basically I finally rewrapped it just to keep the moisture in there, mostly because my plant room is not staying humid like I expected to. And then I've also been misting this quite a bit with a little bit of fertilizer and water here and there, just to try and keep those cracks nice and moist. Now, skipping ahead a little bit, we are in March, and I did want to start taking some measurements of the leaves just so we have an idea of what the size of things actually are, because from your perspective, you can't really tell. So I am going to measure the biggest leaf, and it is about 4 inches long. Also, the total height of the plant is about 10 inches if you don't count that little leaf that's pointing up, because honestly that will curl down pretty soon. But yeah, it's growing pretty good. I do notice that it is a little caloric looking, and I don't know if it's because I'm hammering it with light or if I'm just not feeding it enough. But let's get this plastic wrap taken off and let's take a look at the actual roots and just see how they're doing and see if they're still continuing to utilize the crevice. And indeed they are from the wide shot. We will zoom in a little bit, but they're really utilizing it. I mean, they're all in the cracks, they're running down the cracks, and some are even headed straight to the soil, and it's doing exactly what I was hoping for. However, I'd like to see them get a little thicker in there, but I think as the actual plant sizes up and the roots themselves are a lot thicker, I think it's really going to lock in. However, this thing is really on there securely. I did want to show you the actual wood that's touching the soil just to kind of see how fast this rots out. So far, it's looking pretty good. It's wet. It definitely is decomposing in the slightest bit on the very outmost parts, but it feels solid, and I don't feel like any really big soft spots or any structural deficiencies. Looking up really close, because it's always nice to use that macro lens, you can really see all the tiny little roots coming out and grabbing onto this thing. I love seeing the more main aerial roots go into the crack and head down, and just seeing a mess of roots makes me super excited. Now, it's a little hard to see in this footage just because the roots are pretty similar color to the actual 2x4s in those slits, and just it's really tough to get lighting deep in there with the plant in front of it, and it's just a little bit challenging. But I think you can clearly see there's a ton of roots all stacking on top of each other, filling out the cracks, and there's even some that are a good 6-8 inches long, going all the way from the plant down the cracks and into the soil, which is fantastic. This is really cool to see, and again, I'm ecstatic to see this actually working just like I hoped. Now, as I'm wrapping this up in plastic, again, this just helps keep that moisture in there to help the cracks and everything. You will notice I haven't done anything crazy with the medical supplies yet. That is coming, but just with the whole baby being born and just school and everything else that's going on, it's been a little tough to really get at this, and I just kind of want to see it go as it can, but I'm going to get some stuff hooked up to it soon. Now, skipping ahead a little bit more time, we are at April 30th. It's probably a week from this posting, or maybe a couple days, but some time has progressed and the plant has grown significantly. It's still looking a little caloric, however, the leaves are still managing to size up a lot. Now, measuring the very largest leaf, you can see it is shy of 6 inches, but we have some pretty darn good growth. And that newest leaf that's hardening off will probably exceed that. We shall see. It does have that sort of rubbery feel I like to see in the more bigger, more mature leaves, so it's looking pretty good. And this one is about 3 inches wide, so mine seem to be much more longer and slender compared to what Jeff is growing. I'm not sure if that's just the way the lighting is or what, but we definitely have a different growth pattern. However, I'm not sure how big his newest leaves are going to be, so I'm excited to watch this video. Now, this does put us at the 6-month mark since we started this whole race, and the wood is starting to look a little bit black. However, it's only about like the first millimeter that is a little bit soft, and maybe this rotting will accelerate rapidly from here on out. I'm not really sure, but so far the pine is holding up pretty well, and we do have a solid inch like thick by about 3 inches wide that it's got to rot through before this thing falls over. So I'm not terribly terrified. And I have been thinking about some ways to get the starter one like waterproofed, whether it's like plastic dip or something else, but there's going to be some future like improvements on that. Now, getting the plastic off, I'm really excited to check on those roots again, and my goodness, are they looking awesome. One of the more newer ones is really reaching all the way across, and I decided I'm going to help it out a little bit and push it back into the crack because that's where it belongs. But yeah, it's pretty crazy how big they'll get. I think the plastic is one of the big helpers, and we're going to switch that up to see what we can do without the plastic going forward. But yeah, following the entire length of this plant, there's just a ton of roots digging in. They're all going in the cracks. It's fantastic. Some are missing, but they're still gripping on really nice, or they just wrap around the edge nicely, and it's really adhering and keeping this plant growing nice and straight, which I'm fantastically excited about. The other really amazing thing is you can see this one root that's in this crack. It starts off really high up there, and it goes all the way down, and it's almost reaching the soil. This thing's got to be at least 8 to 10 inches, and it's just insane to see that the roots are going this far. I do have another pothos on a plank, but it's not like this, and I haven't been wrapping with plastic, and almost every root is only about a half an inch long, and that is it. So I love seeing these results. It is so fantastic. Now that we're at the 6-month mark though, I do want to accelerate this a little bit more, so I am changing up how I'm growing this thing, and I also want to abandon the plastic. I think it's kind of cheating in a sense of like keeping the plank moist. I'm just not a big fan, so we're going to build a hyperbolic time chamber, and we're going to get this thing cooking. So basically, I'm going to give this thing a dedicated grow tent. I've had this thing just kind of sitting around idle for a while with nothing going on, and it's a perfect use case because 1, I can get this thing cooking with the heat because I'll have a heck of a grow light in here, and 2, I can keep a bunch of water on the bottom to really pump that humidity up, and hopefully we can still see good root progress without the added humidity. This will be a really good test on the next like 6 inches of this board because we'll really start to see if these roots can continue to get really long without using like the plastic wrap like wet method. Hopefully just like a 60 to 70% humidity can encourage those really long roots without any problems. I am going to straight up cook this thing in here though. The grow light is on max and it is very bright. Hopefully I don't actually cook this thing and kill it, but I think we could really accelerate growth. I'm going to make sure to feed this thing like crazy and keep it nice and humid in there, and hopefully we just see the results explode. Hopefully by the next update this thing goes Super Saiyan and just gets crazy. Alright, now it is time to react to his video that he posted last time, because obviously I can't react to the current one because I haven't seen it yet. But it was interesting to see that he was getting a lot of algae like inside of his water bag. Mine would drain so fast I never even had a chance for that to happen. And I was also kind of happy to see, I shouldn't say happy because I want success for both of us, or it was, I guess, nice to see that his would also sort of like plug up, or just the inconsistency in the delivery of water was still a struggle for him. So that's something I think we both can work on and figure out like better ways to do it. He did show some of his other pothos, and again, his channel is probably one of the better channels to watch if you want to learn more about like plant growing. He has a ton of videos based on it, and he has a lot of good results based on it as well. Like some of these fat roots that he's got on here just crack me up because they're just huge. I can't even believe they can get that big. But he's got a ton of awesome plants on plank, so if you haven't seen his other stuff besides the Pothos Race, it's worth seeing. Luckily, he did also measure his stuff, and it was interesting to see that it was a lot more heart-shaped. Like I said, maybe it's me hammering light, or I'm not sure like what external condition is causing it, but my pothos are getting like much longer, skinnier leaves, where he's getting those nice heart-shaped leaves. So I'm not sure what that's about. I do like the way he's growing his on just a regular plank here, because you get a much better image of how these roots actually operate. You can see that one giant like aerial root that's more at the node area, and then you can see the internodal roots that are really gripping on, like you said, almost like a caterpillar. And it's really cool to see here because on a lot of my shots, because it's growing along the crack, you can't quite see these because they're almost obscured inside the crack. So it's pretty cool to see. The other interesting thing is he's actually getting pretty sizable roots here without the whole crevice thing. I'm surprised to see the ones that are like an inch or 2 inches long. I guess maybe it's the whole wet plank thing that's allowing them to grow that long. But I've just found some of my planks that are dry just do not get this kind of length. So maybe I have a humidity issue, or I'm not sure, but his are doing really well for being on just a flat plank. It's actually growing much better than I expected. Well, that pretty much sums up this update. Again, go check out Jeff's channel, Everything Plants. You got to see his update and see where his plant is. We are at the halfway mark, which is pretty cool. They definitely aren't growing as fast as I wish they would have grown, but we are seeing some pretty good progress. And I think the next 6 months, we're really going to see some great sizing up. Here it is in here. I did put a pineapple plant I've been trying to grow in here because I'm just trying to get it to make a pineapple. However, now that I opened it, it changed a little bit. But we were at about 80 degrees in here, and it was over 60% humidity, almost like 67, 70. So I think with this like higher humidity, this higher heat, things are going to just be a lot better here. So I hope you guys are enjoying this update. A lot has happened. Things are looking good, and this will be truly the great test to see if we can grow this thing without all that plastic wrap. So hope you guys like this, and as always, may your plants grow strong and healthy. Keep experimenting. I'll see you next time.